Welcome to the Bonhoeffer Project podcast. My name is Dan Leitz. I'm here with my co-host, Stephen Kimbrell, and I'm really excited about today's guest. We've had these conversations ongoing now for the last year, and there's these certain conversations that I really get excited to just engage in this conversation. And obviously, with the Bonhoeffer Project, it is our aim to make disciple makers, turning leaders into disciple makers, finding, as Bill kind of coined the phrase, the fourth soilers. Obviously, Jesus coined it, but kind of latched onto it. Bill did. But today we've got on Justin Gravitt, and I was first introduced to Justin through a series of articles that I found on discipleship.org. And that's when I really started to kind of, I was diving into this Great Commission focus of the church that has been, to a certain extent, lost over the years. I appreciate, Justin, just kind of the influence that you've had. So I just wanted to take a second, introduce Justin Gravitt. Justin, welcome to the program. Good to have you.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Looking forward to our conversation.
Awesome. Same here. So what I like to start with, again, just when I speak to other disciple-making leaders, there's something that always intrigues me. I think one of the things that I've always found is I love a good testimony. But for me, again, there was a testimony for me in disciple making when I think I realized that I was focused on building a church that Jesus never called me to build. And I was woefully unintentional with disciple making. So that being said, Justin, kind of what's your story? How did disciple making become a passion and a focus for you that's, obviously influenced your books and your writings? How did that come about?
Yeah. Well, I was raised in the church unwillingly. I did not want to be there.
I love that.
And was forced to go. And then went off to college and kind of was doing my own thing. And God really got a hold of my life during that time, just through sin and its impact of just wasn't working for me, quite honestly, the way I was living. And there was a girl in my class that I was infatuated with, and she invited me to go to this group called the Navigators one night. And I had no idea it was even a religious group. I was like, yeah, I'm there. Let's.
You thought you were going to learn boating? You're going to be like, this is sweet.
So, yeah, I went and I was struck immediately by just a sense that people really knew God and they were genuinely seeking him in a way I'd never experienced before. And so I was really hungry for that. That was the very end of my sophomore year of college. And so literally 2 weeks left in the year. So the following year, I decided I'd keep going back. She went and studied overseas. That didn't work out. But God used her in my life and started to get involved. And then one of the guys began to disciple me. And that's really when I surrendered my life to Jesus and really didn't know from there that this was a strange thing, that I was being discipled pretty much right away. And so God just got a hold of my life and kind of laid that foundation of disciple making in me at that time. So
Amen.
That's kind of how it went for me.
That's a great story.
Well, and so you were discipled, and you mentioned the group, the Navigators, had a big impact on your life, and then obviously that continued to have an impact because you actually went to work with them, and you still work with the Navigators till this day, right? So how did that happen, the employment with the Navigators?
Yeah, so the end of my junior year, felt a call to ministry and was deciding between going to seminary and going on staff with the Navigators, and visited different seminaries. And as I was discerning that call, went overseas to an overseas missions experience in Southeast Asia. God really just captured my heart for the lost and for missions, and led me to go on staff with the Navigators at that point. That was 22 years ago. Currently, I'm with Navigators Church Ministries, which is the branch of the Navigators that works with pastors and churches and helps them with disciple making and establishing a culture of disciple making in their church that spills out into their community. And so that's kind of where it started and where I am now. So, yeah.
Well, that's perfect, because that's what we want to talk to you about.
That's right.
And you've written a lot about this on your blog and then discipleship.org. And one of the things I think that Navigators does really well, and that you do really well, you guys are all really good at breaking down things where they're understandable, and then also equipping people to actually do what they're supposed to do. And so that's what we're excited about talking to you about today. And we're going to talk about the subject of disciple making. And the question is, you wrote about this recently. What is disciple making?
Yeah, there you go.
Because I mean, there's a lot of talk in kind of churchy circles today. There's a lot of conferences. There's a lot of books coming out with this in the title. And what I'm seeing, and I'm sure you're seeing, is that sometimes we're talking about different things, but we're just using the same words. So can we just jump right into that and say, what is disciple making?
Yeah. It seems like it should be an easy answer, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But as you alluded to, like disciple making and discipleship, it is such a popular phrase or words in the church today, and we mean different things by it.
Yep.
The Navigators has been at this for over 80 years now.
Yeah.
And I was struck about 4 years ago when Bill Hall stood up at the National Disciple Making Forum and said he was so encouraged because in his entire life and ministry, he'd never seen disciple making take root in the church the way that it was at that point.